Good morning, everybody, and happy Sunday. I am doing a yin today. I was going to do a regular vinyasa or hatha practice, but in the spirit of requiring some restorative and stress relief, I decided to go for a yin. So if you have never taken a yin class before I get started, I will give you a quick rundown of what to expect. And I still will talk about it throughout the whole hour. We always start off in my classes with a good 6 to 8 minute meditation. So I could just have you go and do it on your own, but I do often call out through it gently, reminding you to stay with your breath, things to think about if you have a hard time meditating. So you can go ahead and keep it running so that you get all of that good stuff. And if you hear anything in the background, that's just the dogs. They're having a play date in the backyard. So if you hear any barking, that's my dogs barking. So basically, I would still call to you to, if you'd like to, I didn't talk about this at the last class. If you did my first one on YouTube, it's a good thing to still have music playing. I'm a real music person, but for sound purposes, it records better without having that music. So choose your best 1 hour soft, chill music playlist and get it going along with this. It can really be helpful to follow and relax with that, your favorite music. So that's just my suggestion. Let's get started. Get yourself really comfortable sitting on a pillow so that you're up already, letting those hips open. Some people are more cross-legged and you might even have to have your legs further apart. Whatever works for you, get comfortable. Let's roll our shoulder blades back. As you do, then start to let your palms, maybe rest palms down or palms up at your knees. You can create a circle with your index finger and thumb. Some people prefer to have their hands settling in their lap, creating a circle. And then you're just trying to settle in to a peacefulness that you can try and find in your mind. So that's letting go of all the thoughts. Maybe let's start with that first big inhale breath through the nostrils. So nice big deep inhale. And a nice long slow exhale. So just as we do in our yang style practices of yoga, you're still drawing in through the nostrils. Drawing that breath down, filling up that beautiful Buddha belly. And then on the exhale, just starting to notice that belly button sink back towards your spine. And as we all work through all the things going on around us, you might not get complete peacefulness around you, and that's the challenge. Working against the sounds and the things that you notice. And I think it's just noticing them, not staying attached, practicing that non-attachment, one of our niyamas. So for a lot of us, just following the breath, watching it, and that could be a real visual of watching that breath come in through your nostrils, following it down. Notice it filling up the belly. And then as it comes back out, still trying to create that ocean breath or ujjayi breath as you compress through the throat. And then notice the breath come back out through the nostrils. Or if you're better at visualizing, everyone has their own beautiful visual. For some people it's mountains, slowly picturing the snow and maybe visualizing it melting. And that's a softening, calming feeling. For myself, I've always been a tree person, so I visualize a forest. Lots of trees standing tall. Oh, they've got to be over 150 feet high for me. And my mind is like the floor of that forest. So if it's a really windy day and those leaves get picked up with that breeze. That's my thoughts. So what I'm trying to do is calm that breeze. Let everything settle down so that my thoughts, like the leaves, are just resting on the floor. So what we're practicing here in meditation, and it's not only a calming of the mind, but part of what we practice in our yin practice is finding stillness. So this first pose, this seated meditation, is your first pose, your first asana. So it's finding stillness in the body. We have a natural reaction. As human beings, we generally allow ourselves to just react. What we're trying to do through our yin practice and the practice of moving yoga is to find a stillness, a way that we can calm the mind and allow ourselves to pause and reflect instead of just react. So when we practice that stillness, the peacefulness in the mind, it's allowing ourselves in times of a situation that brings on anxiety or a twitch in your system where you naturally feel like you should react, instead calling ourselves to bring that peaceful feeling to our mind, allow some time to pause and reflect. And if you notice as you're taking your breaths that you're still feeling that feeling up high in your chest. I still have a little bit of that, probably that anxiousness I feel about all the situations going on around me. Just take a moment and really try and notice that you're staying up there and draw the breath down. So as you breathe in, you feel the broadening through the rib cage for sure, but then you feel the filling up of the belly. So that's how you're drawing it down. And then nice and slowly on that exhale, notice that breath as it starts to leave, moving back up through constricted throat and back out the nostrils. So just starting to bring some awareness back into the space that you're holding for yourself, back into your space, back into your body. Maybe start by flicking the eyelids open and shut, starting to wake yourself back into the moment. And again, maybe roll those shoulders back for a couple of breaths. Start to release through the hands. And then start to roll those shoulders forward. And we'll do a nice little breathing exercise that was taught to me by Bernie Clark, who I took my yoga training, my yin yoga training with out in British Columbia. Shout out to all those people from Semper Viva. Peace. Taoist breathing. So let your hands just drop gently by your side. You can still stay, but start to feel those sitting bones really feel attached and settling in, grounding into your mat or your block or your pillow. And then on a nice big deep inhale, let's breathe those arms up overhead. Start to lift through the chest, open through the throat. As you exhale, cross those hands behind your head. Bend through those elbows, then sink in a little bit into your spine. Next inhale, sit up nice and tall, lift through the chest. Start to pull those elbows back, feeling a nice stretch through the shoulders. And then on a nice long slow exhale with really strong, slow, rigid movements, push, like you're pushing those walls away from you. And then a nice long slow inhale, turn the palms up towards the sky, bend the elbows, bring the fingertips in towards the shoulders, softening. Nice long slow exhale, breathe out nice and long, push everything away from you, round through the spine, bring your chin down towards your chest. Then on a nice long slow inhale, lift the chest, bring the gaze up, turn the palms back. As you lift those fingertips up, exhale nice and slowly. Come into a nice forward fold and seated. So reaching out, reach those sitting bones back, elongate through the spine, reach out through the arms, maybe take those arms wider and wider as then you start to reach out through those fingers, press through the fingertips. And then slowly walk those hands back in close to those shins, and we'll do that one more time. Let those hands rest by your side. Take a nice big deep inhale breath. As you exhale, bend through the elbows. Sink in. Inhale. Lift through the chest, pull those elbows back. Start to open through the chest and the throat. Exhale. Pushing everything away, soften, round through the spine, bring the chin towards the chest, inhale. Lift up, bring your gaze up, open through that throat, and then exhale nice and slowly, rounding through the spine. Forward fold, allow every vertebrae to articulate into the next as you then release through the head. Reach out through those arms, tempt through the hands, pulling up to the center of the hand, coming onto fingertips. And then again, exhale, soften. As you do, slowly walk those hands back towards your shins. And then allowing yourself, if you'd like to, stay up on a block or a cushion to give yourself more room through the hips, or allow yourself to come down onto your seat, see what feels best in your body, and then come directly into butterfly, bringing the soles of your feet together. We'll start off in a nice close butterfly, so bringing those heels in closer to your sitting bones. Start to relax and release, so you're telling your glutes, your hips, everything to relax, so your knees can fall out to the side. If you have lots of room, some of us can still be quite tight, then it's placing blocks underneath those knees to feel that support so they have a place to settle down into if they're not settling down towards the mat. And then sit up nice and tall. Grow tall through the spine, lift through that chest, and then as you exhale, if you're looking for a little more through those hips, start to forward fold. As you forward fold, allow those forearms to relax down onto the floor in front of you, and then to make sure that we're not holding through our shoulders and our neck, allow yourself to place a block or a big thick book in front of you to allow your forehead to rest down so you're not holding through the upper body. So where you should be feeling some of this, in this closer butterfly pose, you should feel it more through the groin region, maybe a little bit through the outsides of the hips, start to feel a little mild compression, and maybe even a little bit through that low back. So again, as we were practicing in our meditation, that first pose, it's allowing yourself to find stillness in the pose. And then try and find stillness in the mind. So always coming back to that. And again, so often it's helped by following our breath. Noticing those nice big deep inhales. Nice long, slow exhales. So with every breath you take, that sounds like a police song, allow yourself to feel that relaxation. As your body relaxes and releases, you might notice yourself naturally creeping forward. So your spine, that articulation from one vertebrae into the next might just naturally happen. So you're allowed to let that stillness go, allow yourself to creep further, but then once again, maybe that second edge, as we call it, is where you get to, and then you allow yourself to find stillness again, and stillness with the breath. And then to let you know what we're working on, giving that lovely compression through the joints. The main area we're usually targeting is between our navel and our knees, so therefore our hips, is that you're allowing a compression. So that connective tissue, that lovely fascia, that if you could visualize it, it would be like a 3D spider web. It runs throughout our whole body. So one area you might find tight and stiff, if we kind of create that nice appropriate amount of time that we're giving a compression on that joint and around that fascia, that when we release from that, you might feel a little fragile as you release, but then that area will get stronger. The fascia will get stronger and it helps support the joint. And fascia is made up of 70% water, so making sure that we're drinking water even during something that you don't feel you're sweating, you're still working. So another good reason to always be drinking our water. So allow yourself to spend a little more time. Allow that release to happen as you slowly fall forward. And then maybe with that next inhale, feel that difference. Inhale, take a little release, rising up out of that pose a little bit, elongate through that spine, start to grow long through the spine, lead with the chest. And then exhale, really notice that rounding through the spine. And then release fully down for those last few breaths. Slowly bring awareness back as you move your hands in. Just press into those hands, and I want you to move as slower than you even think you should to give a nice release through the body. Let your hands come back behind you, fingertips pointed towards your sitting bones. Extend those legs forward, bend through those elbows, and just give a nice release, rocking it out through the hips and the legs. So you can release through the hips, the hamstrings, the groin. And then allow yourself to breathe forward again, coming onto those sitting bones. So maybe we have to remove a little bit of that flesh we all have. And then keep that right leg extended. Make it nice and strong. Reach those toes back so you're flexing through that right foot. And then cross that left bent knee over top. We're trying to line up the knee over top, the left knee over top of the right. Depending on how open you are through your hips, you might not get there. You might look more like this. That's fine. And again, if you have lots of space, place a block so that your body feels where it's trying to get down to. That block representing eventually the mat. So once you're there, then also work on getting that shin parallel with the top of the mat, flexing that foot to protect the knee joint on that left leg. And then again, sitting up nice and tall, so you should feel a nice pull and stretch through the back of that right hamstring. Inhale, bring those arms overhead. Lift with that chest, draw your shoulder blades down your back. Exhale, forward fold. As you forward fold, you should feel a nice stretch through that hamstring. Then again, try and get out of the holding through the neck and the shoulders, placing that block. Allowing yourself to fully release forward. You should feel a nice compression through those hips. We're starting to get a nice, that's an exterior rotation through that left leg, so that we're getting into what we call a half shoelace, if you're looking for the names of these poses. And then once again, once you found that first edge, when I talk about that edge, it's basically wherever your body feels that natural pull and stop, so that you don't want to go any further, you can't. That's where you're supposed to stop. You feel something, and then you let yourself settle and soften and relax into the forward fold of that posture. And for others, again, you might be up here. Maybe you're too tight in your low back. Listen to your body and really pay attention to how it's feeling and reacting, and then use that breath to find the stillness and the calmness in not only your body but your mind. And with that next breath, start to feel a little bit of a release as you allow your body to release from that leg just a little bit. Feel that elongation through the spine. Lead with that heart, and then on that exhale again, find that lovely rounding as you come into that full expression of that half shoelace. So the nice thing about these yin poses is that you're always getting, in one area of the body, usually a stretch, in another area you're getting a compression, and then you're also working through the joints and the connective tissue. So it's a wonderful practice. Maybe the most challenging is for keeping that mind calm. And that's okay. That's what we're here to practice. And it might take a long time. Slowly, with that next breath, start to walk your hands back closer to your shin. Slowly rise back up, uncross that left leg. Again, release your hands behind you, bend through the elbows, give a nice wiggle out through those hips and those legs, and enjoy that fragile feeling because you know it'll pass. Wiggling out through the legs and the hips, giving a nice release, and then slowly breathing forward. Again, remove the flesh from those sitting bones. Extend through that left leg, pull back with those left toes, flexing through the left ankle. And then bring that right knee over top of the left. Finding your spot here again, recognizing that we're all different. Even when you think about the bone, the femur going into that hip socket, ball and socket that we have. The different size of that ball, the socket, it all makes a difference in what your body is maybe really capable of doing. So don't force it. I'll get into that next. Find that space where your body feels something. You're starting to create that opening. You might have a little more exterior rotation through that right thigh, through that bone. If you are able to, let's keep pushing forward with modifications. Inhale those arms overhead, grow nice and tall, lift through the chest, shoulder blades soften down your spine, then exhale, forward fold. Once you're in that full forward fold, allow yourself to just settle in with that breath. So again, taking that nice big deep inhale, nice long slow exhale, and as you enjoy that exhale, start to release through the spine. This is where, if that leg was nice and strong, stretching out through that left leg, maybe now start to relax and release, allowing more of a forward fold to happen naturally in your body. And then again, if you'd like to, using a block to place either under the hands, or maybe even placing that block on that top right knee, allowing your head to come down and be supported so you're not holding through the shoulders and the neck. Just finding that comfortable spot for you. And then as you breathe in through the nostrils, back out through the nostrils, allowing yourself to feel that complete release through the body, allowing that calm to come into the mind. And allow that body, if it naturally starts to creep forward, allow it to go deeper. Allow yourself to soften further, grounding into your mat and into the floor. You never know when that next release is going to happen. But then also remembering that whenever you're holding poses, if you do get to the point where you feel a burning sensation, an electrical, a tingling, that could be nerve. And so that means your body is telling you to ease back from the pose. So allow yourself to ease back. The other thing, when we think of practicing yoga, I believe that it's a no pain practice. So we all, whether we've been a gym rat at some point in our life and worked out and it used to be a no pain, no gain, I really believe this is a no pain practice. So really listen into your body and notice when it's telling you. Another wise person, Rolf Gates, writes some really great stuff on yoga and what he's experienced in his trainings, his practice, and his teaching, is if we can quiet our bodies and quiet our minds and allow ourselves to really tune in and check out what we're feeling, what's going on, you're going to be able to hear your body whisper to you, and we won't have to wait for it to scream. Food for thought. And with that next breath, just allow yourself to release up from that pose a little bit, pressing into the hands. Again, taking that nice elongation through the spine, lead with that chest, just to see if we've experienced a little more openness. Now, exhale, soften one more time. Rounding through that spine, releasing through the neck. Allow that head to come down as far forward as your body allows, and settle in for a few more breaths. that next breath, take a nice big deep inhale, and as you do, notice almost through the middle of the back, that broadening through the rib cage as you draw that breath down. Feel that filling up of the belly, and then on that exhale, slowly notice that breath as it comes back up, back through the throat, back through the nostrils, and then start to walk your hands back, allowing your spine to slowly rise back up. And as you do, and take your hands behind you. We'll give that nice roll out. So extend both legs forward. Hands come behind you. Fingertips pointing towards your seat. Bend through those elbows. And again, and now, hi there. Look who we had join us. How did that happen? At Sid Yogi 7. Welcome. We've also, suddenly, candles appeared. We're creating a lovely environment here. Do whatever you need to do to make your space feel wonderful, warm, and welcoming for yourself, for your practice. Let's breathe forward. I'll extend myself the length of my mat. Take your hands behind you. So this is more of a yang posture, but it's a nice release. Fingertips pointing towards you, bend through the knees. Place your feet hip width apart. As you press into your hands, press into your feet, start to fire up through your glutes. Lift your chest, bring your gaze up at the ceiling. Feel that nice strong lift as you come into reverse table. As you keep lifting those hips, open up through that chest. Feel the nice shoulder stretch as your deltoids get a nice stretch over the shoulders. Stay here for one more breath, feeling that lovely stretch out. And then exhale, slowly release down. As you slowly release down, breathe those hips back between your hands. Extend through the legs, cross over the ankles. Breathe right over, coming straight onto your belly, the length of your mat. Then with your next breath, we're going to line up those elbows right underneath the shoulders. Turn your forearms and palms down onto the mat. And then just check in and see how that low back feels. Should be feeling it right between that L2, L3 in your lumbar spine. Sydney just did it. I just looked at her. All of a sudden her glutes relaxed and released. Because as soon as you move into this pose, they naturally tense up to give a nice support to that low back. So allow them to release. If you even need more, walk your feet a little bit wider apart so you feel that pelvis settle down into the mat. And then again, take a nice big deep inhale. As you exhale, soften through those shoulders. Feel those shoulder blades gently relaxing down your spine. And then if you want to get out again of that hold through the shoulders and the neck, using that block to place it in front of you, allow the forehead to relax down onto that block. And start to enjoy that nice compression in your low back, which we don't always think of, but every vertebrae is a joint. So this is the main one. When you think of that L2, L3 space, it's an area that for a lot of us, if you're sitting or standing, whatever you're doing through your day, there's a lot of pressure, and this posture takes and moves that fluid in that space around so that you get a nice release. We're kind of shifting that disc forward. It's also called Jing energy. That's where we house that Jing energy, and doing this pose for a good solid 3 to 5 minutes gives a nice release to that space. So allow that breath to allow that stillness to happen in your body. And try and find that stillness in your mind. If you feel too much pressure in that low back, then allow those arms to shift forward. This is the one pose that creeping forward actually gives you a little bit more release. So find that spot where you just feel the right amount of something, of compression, of stress into that joint. And then again, find that stillness in that pose for yourself. Enjoying some more breaths here, relaxing through the body. Nice support. And as you're breathing here with our belly settling into the mat, we're getting a nice massage into that, the stomach organs. So when we also think about these postures and when you're working into the joints and the fascia, we are also working through meridian lines that run through our body, and each of those meridian lines runs through an organ. So whenever you add that pressure to a joint, it could be running through the spleen, the liver, the gallbladder. All of them could have blockages, could have a stickiness. So what we're doing is we put a little bit of mild pressure on that joint. We're providing that ability, picture it almost like a garden hose, that those lines, meridian lines, are getting twisted and bent so that when they get released, we can create a little bit better flow and maybe release some of that stickiness or blockage. So enjoy a couple more breaths here. If you're a person who within their body feels they could take it more, creeping further, would be bringing ourselves from Sphinx pose into seal. So it's a deeper compression through that low back, straightening through the arms. When you do, shine that heart forward, draw your shoulder blades down your spine. Feel them softening and curling in towards the spine. And then again, check in with those glute muscles, relax and release. So allow that deeper compression through the low back. Then again, find that release through the glutes. Relax with that breath. Find a stillness in the body and a stillness in the mind. And if you've gone to this deeper compression, we'll give a really nice release when we finish this pose. Allow another 6 deep breaths. After that 6th breath, allow yourself, if in seal pose, to come down to Sphinx. And then everyone from Sphinx, allow yourself to walk those elbows forward, coming into more like a dead man. So you can relax that head, turn your head to one side. Now whatever side your head is turned to, that opposite knee slides up and out on a 90-degree angle, allowing a nice release through your low back and hips. And just take a couple of breaths here to allow that release. And then slowly with that next breath, slide that knee back down, extend through that leg. As you breathe, lift your head, bring your gaze over to the other side, and allow that opposite knee to come up on a 90-degree angle outside of the hip. Enjoy a couple of breaths here as you feel that fragile feeling in that low back slowly start to dissipate as you continue to breathe. Nice big deep inhales. Nice long slow exhales. And then nice and slowly slide that left or right leg back down Bring your gaze back to the mat. Let's breathe our hands back under the shoulders, tuck under the toes, press back through the hands and knees, and allow a short child's pose, just to give that further release through the low back. Maybe reach out, wiggle through those hips left to right, whether those knees are in nice and close for child's pose or wider apart. Just allow another breath here. And then slowly breathe back up the table. Your choice here, whether you prefer to transition through table. So staying in table, you might take a couple of those nice cat-cow breaths. Nice inhale, let that belly release down. Bring the gaze up, lift those sitting bones. On the exhale, round through the spine. Feel that tailbone pointing down through the knees on that exhale. And then just follow your breath. Nice big deep inhale, nice long slow exhale. If you prefer to transition through down dog, allowing those hands to walk about 4 to 6 inches ahead of the shoulders, tuck under the toes, send those hips up and back. And just enjoy a nice pedaling left and right, bending through one knee, releasing the heel, and then slowly straightening out through that leg as you pedal back and forth for a couple of breaths. So Sydney, you'll stay in down dog. I'll transition through table with your next breath. Come back to neutral. And then extend that right leg behind you, nice and straight. Inner rotate that leg, flex that foot, push the sternum away. Feel nice length on that inhale, and then on the exhale, breathe that right knee forward, planting or walking that right foot to the top of the mat. If you're transitioning through down dog, we'll now tap that left knee down, and then using a soft cushion, maybe a rolled up blanket, tucking that under that left knee. And then as you breathe up, allow yourself, you can also put your arms up. Go for it. However you find that positioning. I always like to think of breathing my rib cage back over the hips. If it helps to keep those arms elongated, just take that moment and then try and straighten, elongate through that low back as you point that tailbone down. And then deepen. So now let's release our hands to that front right thigh. Start to feel that left hip flexor opening, getting a nice stretch to that left quad. So maybe even walking that right foot more forward as you deepen and open through those hips. Again, listen to your body. You might be up here, and that's enough for you as you slowly, if you're feeling any tightness, that's tightness in hamstrings through hips, with time that will slowly open up. If you're feeling compression, say bone on bone in that right hip, you might never go any further. So it just depends how your body is, whether it's through a muscle, through bone. Allow yourself to slowly get there. These are our dragons, and these are supposed to be happy dragons, like Puff the Magic Dragon. They are not angry dragons. My daughter just dropped her head. This is supposed to be enjoyable. We're happy, trying to go to our happy place. So again, find that stillness in the body, stillness in the mind. Just relax, maybe even close your eyes. And then as you hang out here, check in with your body, having that awareness, drawing that left hip forward, the right hip back. So you're actively working through those hips. And then on maybe a nice long, slow exhale breath, relax and release a little bit deeper through those hips. Nice big deep inhales. Nice long, slow exhales. And then slowly, with that next breath, moving, letting those hands touch down on either side, framing that front right foot. So in this pose, if you'd like to, again, creating more space, depending how open you are through your body, you might need to use those blocks to create a little more distance. You're always trying to feel like you're reaching for your mat. If you can't quite reach that well, then use those blocks. And then from there, starting to walk that right foot out to the right edge of your mat. Bring both hands in parallel to that right foot. And then tuck that right knee in close to that right shoulder. So you're actively pressing against the right arm and pushing that right arm into that right knee. So you start to feel a lovely release through the hips. And then find your space here. This is a regular dragon. If you want to take it down to low, allow yourself to slowly release down. Again, using blocks to maybe start with forearms coming down. For a lot of us who practice the yang postures, this is moving towards a lizard, but we call it the low dragon. And then there's always an option to fire up and make this a little more active and really move that energy through the body. As you do, tucking under the left toes, maybe lifting that left knee and creating a nice long breath through that full body as you really lengthen and strengthen, but then still pull that right knee in close to that right arm. So you're feeling that firing up through the hips. With every inhale, feel that elongation, like you're feeling that energy flow from that left heel right through the crown of your head. And with every exhale, allow a little bit of a release as you soften. And again, come back to that stillness. Once you've found that edge that you feel comfortable in, breathe. Find stillness in the body and stillness with the breath. Maybe even pressing into that right foot a little more, making yourself aware of the four corners of that right foot, then lift through the toes. So you're actively engaging that right calf. Stay here for another breath. And then slowly now that nice release. So if the toes are up, release them down. If that left knee is up, release it down. If you're on forearms, slowly come into those hands. Let's give a nice release back into that hamstring stretch. So shift those hips back. Start to let those right toes peel off the mat. And then still feel that lining up through the body. So you're not allowing that torso to forward fold over that right leg. You're still coming to the center line. So coming down between those two legs. Let both hands come on either side again, using blocks if you need to, creating that space, depending on what your body allows. Other people like to make this into more of a half split. So if you enjoy and you're feeling something here, but you could use more, maybe walking that right foot more forward, allowing more of a stretch through the back of that right leg. And now that nice elongation through the spine, lift with that chest. Enjoy that inhale, then as you exhale, start to round through the spine. Allow a nice release through the neck. Allow that head to come down to the center line of the body. Enjoy one more breath here. And then nice and slowly start to release back up. If you let that right heel walk forward, bring it back a bit so you can bend through the knee, plant that right foot. Transitioning through table, just let those hands release, draw that right knee back. If you're transitioning through down dog, tuck under those left toes, press into the hands, draw that right leg back. Take a moment. Again, in table, allowing that cat-cow breath to center you. In down dog, feel that lovely pedaling out. As you bend through one knee, lift one heel, and then straighten and come to the other side. Enjoy one more flowing breath. And then come back to neutral in table or down dog. Inhale, breathe that left leg up behind you. Feel that inner rotation, flex that foot, make it feel strong. And then as you exhale, breathe that left knee forward, placing that left foot at the top of the mat. If you're in down dog form, drop that right knee gently down, maybe sitting up onto a block. Creating space, and then start to breathe those arms up. Bringing those hands onto that left knee, setting up into your high dragons. So again, if you'd like to, think of those hips. Draw the right hip forward, draw the left hip back. Think of that rib cage, breathing back over those hips. I always talk about that last rib kissing the top of the hip. And then try to elongate through the low back right into that tailbone. Relax those shoulder blades. And then slowly, if the hands are up, breathe those hands onto that top left knee. Then start to feel that open right hip flexor, start to feel a nice stretch to that right quad. If you start to feel like you could create more space, creep forward. Find that next edge. Check in with your breath. Nice big deep inhale. Nice long slow exhale. Let's get back to that nice calm mind. Whenever we practicing focusing on that breath, settling into a pose, whether it be in yin style or yang, we're practicing getting to that meditative state. So if we can work all that stuff out of our body, that sometimes helps us when we do our meditation. So the fact that I did meditation at the beginning was maybe a challenge. Maybe next time you try and do the yin exercises, the poses, and then try that meditation at the end and see if you find it's different. Still filling up that belly. Exhale, enjoying that nice long, slow exhale. Draw that left hip back, right hip forward, feel that stretch. And then as you finish off that next breath, let's slowly bring it down. As you release those hands to frame that left foot, again choosing to use blocks to create that space, to slowly allow those hips to sink deeper. We're trying to get those hips to come down closer and closer to the mat. So everyone's going to have their own level and comfort, and everyone's going to have their own feelings about this. Dragons can bring up a lot of stuff, so allow that to pass through you. And again, as you start to get down lower and lower, moving through your regular dragons, moving towards the low ones, walk that left foot a little bit over to the left side. Allow the left hand to come to the inside of that foot. Both hands are parallel to the left foot. And then slowly allow those hips to open up a little bit more. As you do, keep that left knee tucked in nice and close. Sometimes we'll wing that knee out, but today I'd like you to hold it in nice and close. Press against that left arm. Press that left arm against that left knee. So as you do, you should feel a little more release through that left hip. You got all that stuff running through the inside. You got psoas, SI joint, all those meridian lines, all our stuff. So let's get a little compression there. Draw that left hip back, right hip forward. And whenever your body feels ready, start to allow a further release down towards those low dragons. So again, maybe starting with a block on high, medium, or low. Forearms come down. And wherever you feel good here, keep drawing that left knee in close. Don't forget about it. Tuck under those right toes if you want to fire. Fire up that dragon. And feel that elongation. So when you breathe, I really like to picture that energy flowing from my right heel, right through my body, right through the crown of the head. And then when you think in terms of energy, maybe you're creating that energy for yourself. Depending on what you're going through, where your mental state is, you might need that energy. If you have extra to share, send it out into the world. I've got different people I could be sharing with. As you breathe, try and bring that peacefulness to the body, nice stillness. And then maybe even trickier is that nice stillness in the mind. Keep on breathing into that low abdomen, making sure you're feeling something wherever you're at in your pose. Staying true to how you're feeling. This moment, every day is going to be different. And each side can definitely feel different. If you're in those nice low flying dragons, release that right knee down. And then very slowly start to bring yourself back out of this posture. Relieving yourself from those blocks. Walk that left foot back into the center. And then let's shift those hips back. Let those left toes peel off the mat as you allow yourself to come into that nice hamstring stretch. So allowing as much space as you need to feel that. And then feel that inhale, elongate through the spine, lead with the chest. And then on an exhale, round through the spine. Allow that head to come down through the center line so you're not angling yourself over that left leg. Stay nice and balanced, coming through the middle. And then realizing whether you need to create more space. If you do, walk that left heel forward. Make it a little bit longer. Try and keep those hips square. Keep pulling that left hip back, right hip forward. Maybe again, taking a nice inhale. Elongate through that spine if you want to feel that extension. And then on the exhale, enjoy that nice release. that articulation through the spine. It's like one vertebrae just gently leads into the next one as you release your head down towards your leg, staying in the center line. Enjoy one more breath here. And then slowly, if you let that heel walk a little further ahead, slide it back a bit. Let's bend through that left knee, plant the foot down, bring both hands to frame that foot, and then bring your awareness and draw that left knee back to meet the right. Remove that block, and then set up for our lovely child's pose. So if you'd like those knees closer together, bring them closer together. Sit those sitting bones back, reaching for the heels, and then elongate through the torso, reach through those arms, spread out through the fingers, and soften and settle in to your mat. When you're breathing, visualize breathing right into that rib cage, so broadening, maybe into the middle of your back before that breath gets drawn down to your low abdomen, and on the exhale, feel that softening as now that spine is settling down closer towards your belly button. And then in child's pose, this is one of the nicest releases for that pelvic floor when we're taking all those nice big breaths. Here, because you're compressing, giving a nice gentle massage into that belly, maybe shorten the breath a little bit, but enjoy the breath as you relax and release. If you want to take those arms a little wider, so there's zero pinching through the shoulders, go there. Or if you'd like to completely release the arms, let them come back around and reach towards the heels, and then maybe even turn one ear down onto the mat. This I call more of a leaf pose. Enjoy that nice massage into the tummy. And then at any point that you want to take this into a wider child's pose, almost like a tadpole, bring your hands closer to the shoulders, release up, and then draw those knees further apart, keeping those big toes together, and then let those hips sink back towards the heels, and then really allow that chest to open and settle down towards the mat. And again, take those arms wider, reach out through the arms, relax through those shoulders, bend through those elbows, and just breathe. So again, finding stillness in the body, and stillness in the mind. And if it feels good, turning your head to one side, allowing your ear to settle into the mat. And then again, the option to keep those arms extended or breathe them back, wrap around your knees. And as you breathe, again, that lovely filling through the rib cage, the broadening, the belly filling up. And on that exhale, that nice slow release of the breath back up through the nostrils. Still allow those hips to relax and release. Allow those glutes and hamstrings, everything to release. And then if you'd like to, lifting up your head and bringing your ear to the opposite side. Your gaze, to the opposite side, resting on the opposite ear. And really relaxing, letting that heart soften down into the mat. This is one of those poses I think I could stay in for the rest of the day. But we too shall release from here. So breathe those hands up under the shoulders. As you press in, slowly allow yourself that nice release. And then we'll give another nice counter pose. So allow yourself to breathe forward through those knees. Shift to the left or the right hip. Extend those legs forward. As you do, keep extending and then start to point through those toes. Release your hands behind your back. Fingertips pointing towards your sitting bones. Press into those hands, straighten through the arms, and then come into that reverse plank as you lift through those hips. Open through the chest. Push and really point through those toes, trying to get those toes to touch. Lifting up as high as you can. Fire up through the back of the body. Open through the chest. And then nice and slowly exhale. Give a nice release back down. This is where we'll grab a lot of our different props to allow ourselves to come into fish pose. I want to finish off with that heart opener. In these tough times, I want to get that energy moving through us, work through the body with a nice stretch and compression. Sydney will show how to do this with bolsters. Do you want the second bolster to elevate the head?
Do you want me to do just the block?
Sure. And I'll show you with the blocks. So whether you have blocks or a couple of pillows at home, using what you have to create basically a T to line up underneath your spine and your head. Some people prefer to have their head up higher. You're basically sending up your sitting bones about 4 to 6 inches ahead of that block or bolster. Your bolster obviously will be closer because it's longer. And allow yourself to release back. So you're lining up that block right in the middle of your spine. You're trying not to dig in to those shoulder blades, so have it on the mid-range so that you can settle back down. And you want to be able to open up through the chest, allow those arms to relax. And then that block for your head is allowing that head to rest and be supported. Open through the heart, take that nice big deep inhale breath. Fill up the belly, exhale, soften. And then with our legs, many options. You can extend them straight out, let the feet splay out to the side and just relax. Other people really prefer to come into that lovely butterfly, whether it's in nice and close with the heels coming closer to the sitting bones or extending longer. My preference is to take the feet wider than hip width apart, bend through the knees, and then slowly allow those knees to settle in towards one another. If you want to open more, maybe even bring those arms into cactus arms, or if you visualize goalposts, just taking that nice big deep inhale. Nice long, slow exhale. And again, finding that stillness in the body. If you need to make those little adjustments in any of these poses, take a moment to do so. But then again, find that stillness. And again, with the breath, check in, see if you're noticing the inhale. And noticing the exhale and keeping that mind nice and still. I think for the first year or so I was practicing yin, I couldn't find that stillness in my mind. Practicing my meditation, thoughts would come in and out. I would often become attached. So just take this time to practice. If you even just get a moment that you said, hey, I wasn't thinking, I didn't stay attached to that thought or feeling or list I was making, then that's something good for yourself. As you allow yourself to still sink in, deciding whether you'd like to stay in fish pose for your last few minutes to let everything sink in. Or if you prefer to give that nice release, extending this for as long as you'd like, or coming into Shavasana. So take a moment to remove those blocks from under your spine. Allow yourself to fully relax and release down. I don't know if you noticed, I changed into comfy clothes for this last bit. Tuck under the shoulder blades, open up through your heart, take your feet nice and wide. Let the toes splay out to the sides. Take a nice big deep inhale breath. And then exhale, sigh it out. And just settle in with your breath one more time. Feeling that nice stillness in the body. Stillness in the mind as you finish out your practice in Shavasana, allowing yourself to lay here and just breathe for as long as you'd like. Have a wonderful day. Namaste.